Hi, I'm Mark Sherer. I'm the CEO and founder of Encompass Life and the host of the Encompassing Life Podcast. Today, we have Michelle Rae Sobi on the call. And Michelle is the founder and CEO of Edge Yoga and Arts in Naperville, Illinois, which is right outside of Chicago. And just met just met Michelle here a few minutes, been chatting with her. She has some really different ways that she's bringing yoga to people and mixing it with, instead of doing like meditation or some of the other things to help people relax, she'll work with some people and have them do paintings, which is kind of unusual. First time I've heard of this with anyone. So, Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, Mark.
You're welcome. And so, how long have you been doing yoga? What got you into doing your studio?
Yeah, going on 2 decades now. So quite some time indeed.
So, how long have you been? You said it's been going on for 2 decades.
Yeah, I started 2008. So yeah, almost 20 years that I've been doing this and hope to be doing this when I'm silver and 80.
Gotcha. So, what
I
got
mean,
you into doing yoga?
back injury. I was doing the physical therapy and there's a problem with the insurance running out with that. And my physical therapist had said, you seem to be responding really well to the yoga and the Pilates. And I recommend that you find a good teacher and see what you can do on your end. It absolutely changed my life. It brought me from walking around with a walker to
Wow.
pretty well. Oh yeah. It was a journey though. Not an easy one, but I'm so grateful for it. So I want to share that and pass that on with people.
So you were walking around with a walker at what age?
Yeah, 34.
So do you have some type of an injury or what happened with you?
Yeah, yeah. It was a work-related thing. So while the insurance companies went to war, as that just so commonly happens, I went to yoga. And I would say that it helped me not only build up the core strength, help with the flexibility, help define and develop the muscles and nourish the connective tissues. But it also helped me, I think, on the level of withdrawing from the senses of suffering. Like
Mm,
sometimes if we have a headache, we can spend so much focus on, oh my head, I have a headache, and you have this dialogue, it makes the headache turn into a migraine and make last for days.
right.
There's a piece of self-awareness that can come if you can, teach the mind to be aware there is, in fact, a headache's real, but maybe not as extensive as it would be if you knew another way.
So how long were you on the walker once you started doing yoga?
Well, I had a friend who was driving me to and from yoga, which was super helpful. And I was going to a big gym, which had a hot tub. So the workflow would be I would take the pain meds that the doctor gave me. I'd go to yoga and then sit in the hot tub for maybe like an hour. And I would be there for about half a day. Like this is what I did. And I did this for maybe 6 to 8 months, I think, that I was able to kind of rehab myself, off and got in the pool and did some swimming and did some yoga in the pool. And I think, the mindset was so incredibly powerful that when you're in pain, you don't want to necessarily go to the gym, you know? So it's helpful to have an encouraging friend that said, come on, I'll drive, we'll go, we'll sit in the hot tub, it'll be so nice, we'll get food. And that's what we did. So it went on a while before I was able to get my mobility back. And the doctors actually at that point were ready to hand off to me a morphine patch. So it was at least that level of serious that luckily I declined and went in another
So
direction.
did you have an accident?
Yeah, yeah, it was an accident. So
Can you share what happened or?
well, I don't want to go into great depths about that, but I fell at work. And so the big question is, what insurance company is in charge of this? And so that delayed, if you have an injury that is, deemed serious and you get treatment kind of right away and consistently, then this could have been maybe a short-term thing. But in my case, it spanned years before I kind of got my life back. So I contribute, and the reason I opened Ed Yoga School was to help people get their life back through mobility. And this can't take the place of Western medicine, of course, but I think it certainly can enhance it. And even the stress around, I can't go on a hike. I probably won't ever be able to go on a hike, but I can go to the art league and do paint meditations, and that's so soothing and lovely, and it enhances my life overall. And so I'm charged to share that, my lifelong journey.
And
Yeah.
so you started doing yoga for your own benefit,
Yeah.
and then at some point in time you opened your own studio.
Almost right away.
Really?
Yeah, because I had people that were interested in my story, and I'm like, yeah, I'm telling you, this yoga thing is really helping. And I guess maybe I know many people and tend to be open. And I'd have people say, gosh, I mean, would you be willing to share some with me? Well, I can show you what I know, or you're welcome to come to class with me. And that would be the blooming, I would say I was training within a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, I've always been a teacher, Mark. No matter any position or job I've ever had, if I had a manager worth their salt, they quickly kind of saw that I could teach things. And so, when I had my corporate job in the city, I got promoted to train the staff on some tech stuff. And so I think some folks might have a natural disposition to teach in general. Others
Hmm.
learn how to become teachers through education and experience. But I think that might have already been in my back pocket a little bit when I started this. So now it's just a matter of teaching something I know and something I love and that I'm passionate about. So
Gotcha.
hence Ed Yoga School.
Have you ever heard of iridology by any chance?
What was it?
Iridology, where you
No,
look
I
at
don't think
somebody's
so.
eyes and like they can tell you a lot about your body from looking at somebody's eyes.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, didn't catch the name, but yeah, I've heard of the concept for sure.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah. So
done?
we take it one step further.
Yeah,
And if you ever done like Myers-Briggs testing or disc testing or any of that stuff, so you're in corporate.
yeah.
So I can take a picture of somebody's eyes and I can show you, like if like you have the propensity to be a teacher, there'll be spots in your eyes that will show you that will reveal that there's these little brown spots are called soras. And when people have this natural teaching ability, they have those little spots in their eye.
Oh my goodness. Well, you'll have to send me over that information because I'm enchanted and would love to know more.
Yeah, so maybe we have another conversation. I'll show you. But it's
Okay.
it's it's like a I can take pictures of my eyes like a Myers-Briggs test or a disc test.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, way different.
Okay.
So anyway, so you started your practice or your studio within a very short time.
Yeah.
And where did you start out? Naperville as well?
Yeah, actually I had started serving on the Naperville Women's Club board. And I learned so much from these women. If you have the opportunity, everybody, to serve on some sort of board, you learn so much from folks. But it worked out that I guess I was doing a good enough job that they opened up their doors to allow me to offer yoga there, which they offered as a rental price point, but that was a little higher than what yoga class tends to yield. So that plus a whole lot of volunteering kind of got me my first floor. And it was a funny thing because they would have these chairs like you might see like at a wedding hall or something like a country club, those sort of stackable chairs. There was
Uh,
four, and I know this because I would have one of my students come and stack all the chairs. We'd mop the floor, wait for it to dry, teach the class, put the chairs back out, and leave. And so the gals at the women's club got their floor cleaned
right.
and a floor to start my business, and that's where it began.
And so and now your studio is what's the difference from where you started to where you are now?
Wow. Yeah. So there's been a journey, back up into 2022 or so. I had a conventional studio with 15 instructors and I was doing that. And some people love that journey. That is definitely a lot of mopping and a lot of management. And what I love to do is teach and train. So my focus is really on teacher training and helping people find different venues and gigs they can teach at, whether it might be a local studio, a park district, the forest preserves, Bali,
Mm,
whatever it might be. And so now I have an office in downtown Wheaton.
mhm.
And I have trainers that have studios in the Chicagoland area.
Hmm.
So,
So how many employees do you have now?
no employees. I have me and independent contractors.
Excuse me, independent contractor. Yeah, I do
Difference,
too.
Mark. Big difference.
Big difference. Yeah, yeah. I had
Employees.
I, I had a company with 90 employees,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
probably 50 or 60 independent contractors at one time.
yeah.
A
Well, at
lot
this
of,
moment,
ay, ay, ay.
at this moment, I have 100 trainees that I'm working with. And
Wow.
yeah, we have, so this is my full-time gig, right? So I have these different venues that I go to, but I have different tiers. So based on what tier a student might be on, they're learning basically how to teach a yoga class. They need me to hold space for their journey on that, all the way up to a much more private mentorship where I'm working maybe with two, three people, 20 hours of my week. As you kind of climb up the different offerings, and that's how we do that. So
Gotcha.
I
So,
love it. Great.
so your current physical location, your studio,
Yeah.
what's the size of that?
The building, well, there's the studio and then the conference room and then the reception. It's a good size. Yeah.
How many studios are in there? Yoga rooms?
One yoga room, but we probably do three-quarters of our work in the conference room where we have a whiteboard, we have, access to media, Sonos and that sort of thing. And what we do is we create yoga classes. So it's not just throw a student into a studio and say, teach now. It's how do you go about teaching? What lineage do you follow? What style of yoga do you love?
Hmm.
What do you hear? Is that what you want to teach? And helping the different students decide what that even might be. And in some cases, more than one style of yoga can be
Hmm.
taught. So that work's done in a conference room with a whiteboard, not on the floor of a studio. This is a different
Gotcha.
part of the training.
So, are you mostly just doing teachers training, or do you also have students coming in to take your classes?
My trainees offer the classes. I will roll in from time to time and guest teach sometimes. I'll
Hmm.
guest for my trainer studios and pop in, and I like to do that. We do a number of big venues, like big monthly venues. So this month we are at Naper Settlement, which is kind of a big deal in this town. And so I'll teach there. But really what I aspire to do is hold space for my trainees to have ample opportunities practice teaching.
Hmm.
So when they graduate, they're ready to go. And
Yeah.
often and helps with them landing gigs. So
Yep. I love working with trainers of trainers myself.
yeah,
It's a higher level of commitment in the group, higher level of
right.
performance.
Yeah. More
Way.
mentorship, more one-on-one.
So you do mostly one-on-ones with people as well?
Yeah, at the fourth tier I do. On the third tier, I might work with somebody at that level, maybe one person a year at that level.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas the third tier a bit down from that, where there's quite a bit of personal mentorship directly with me, but also amongst each other, maybe like three, four people a year that I'll work with at that level. And then
Mm-hmm.
tier one and tier two is they're just getting started. They love yoga. They want to learn how to teach a yoga class, right? And it's my job to hold space and make sure they understand what that is and how to do it, right? And then the second tier, which is a step above that. It's refining. And
Mm-hmm.
those students will commonly want to run retreats, maybe open studios one day, offer fun events, workshops, and refined yoga teachers, yoga classes, things like that. So
Gotcha.
it
So
has to
do you also work with them on the business practices as well?
at tier three and tier four, I do. There's a layer there where I think the world around us requires yoga teachers to be on social media, promote their
Right.
classes, share their venues. There's a reality to it. Like it, don't like it, wish it were another way, but it just is, right?
Right.
So no matter where you teach, you're going to need to know how to capture basic pictures, which, I help them do, some maybe social media etiquette that it's effective and helpful, but doesn't take 30 hours a week where they're, constantly online because that's not any good. But then also, I think there's the layer of the way we offer our training is in like 2 hour bits. So that 2 hour experience could be done in a classroom, like a yoga studio, at a park, in Costa Rica, that same thing that yes, that same thing that we learn how to do in the conference room can be done anywhere.
Right. Where
And,
do
and
you
I, that's what I do.
when you said Costa Rica, it's like a dog when you mentioned the word treat. I
Oh,
love Costa Rica. Where do
so
you do
beautiful.
your retreats in Costa Rica?
I like to fly United, nice, easy 5 hour. uninterrupted flight and then stay in San Jose because it's a long day, right? The first night. And
Right.
then some folks will stay in this city. I like to stay in the mountains and go to Tabacon Thermal Spa, which is,
Yep.
I don't have any words for that. Just wow. And other people, though, they want to grab a bus and stay at the resort, on the beach. That's about 3 hours from there. So
So
there's,
is that near Arnold where you're going?
it might be.
Is that like where Baldy is, La Fortuna,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lake Arnold,
Yeah,
Monte Verde,
yeah,
for that area?
yeah.
Yep.
I personally, I'm not, well, that too, like due to my injury, I don't really want to get in a bus and trek to the beach 3 hours. I usually send one of my trainers to bring a group to do that. I'm
Right.
going to the hot springs, up the mountain to Tabacon. So that's
Yeah.
where you personally find me to
Yeah.
more clearly answer your question
Yes.
in the group with, fine dining and silverware and fluffy robes.
Yeah. I've been to Costa Rica probably 8 or 10 times.
Amazing.
Love it. Beautiful,
Yeah.
friendly people,
So
flora,
much so.
fauna,
Yeah.
and getting out of the major cities. I mean, get away from the touristy stuff.
Yeah.
Find the little local cities, hit a little local restaurant, and
Yeah. And they love their Heineken. I noticed when I did like the local tour, I did the local tour bus, like the double decker that you might see around.
right.
And that was fun because we were able to stop at local restaurants and that sort of thing and experience what local life might look like. And that
Yeah.
that was that was really something. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, me
So
too. I've
yeah,
been, I guess the longest I've been there one time is maybe a little over 3 weeks, to go down there and really experience it. And,
really the way to do it. I mean, if you can,
yeah,
if you can.
rent
Yeah.
a car and just travel all over, man.
And we have that too. We have residential yoga teacher training where people just spend a month or 2 months
Yep.
immersed in this. And this is great for folks that maybe are in, a changing stage of their life, they have a little bit of discretionary income and time and
Yep.
bandwidth to do such a thing. And it's a wonderful self-discovery.
Yeah, I got a lot of friends, like expats who moved to Costa Rica, and they said what they spend on their health insurance for a year is
Mhm.
less than what they were spending on their health insurance for a month in the States.
Right. Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
said way better care, more
Yeah.
holistic, and all of them went down there, lost weight, got in shape, great
Yeah.
tans.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Everything's
so beautiful.
easy to give up cheese when you're surrounded by such vibrant produce.
Oh, you were saying you're just a 5 hour flight for you. From
Yeah.
Houston, it's only three.
Better yet. Yeah, so I'm Chicago, so coming out of
Mm.
O'Hare,
And I think I've gone from Miami a couple of times too. I think it's maybe 3.5 or 4 from Miami. So yeah, pretty easy.
right?
Beautiful, beautiful country. Just beautiful. Cool. So you said you're in Naperville,
Mhm.
and do you do most everything you do is in person, or you do things online as well?
I have online available. Usually, when someone registers for the program, I ask how they prefer to learn. Some people love learning online, other people want everything in person. Most folks want a hybrid of both, just because it allows for people to learn at the pace when it's convenient for them to do
Mm-hmm.
so.
Mm-hmm.
I myself love online learning because I can pause, reflect, take a break, come back, walk the dog,
Yep.
resume, where you can't really do that in a live setting. But other folks are definitely over online learning and want to do everything in person. And so for them, we'll do more field trips, retreats, workshops, special events to enhance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just more engaging than sitting on a floor all day. So
Gotcha. So your online classes, are they pre-recorded, or you have a live person online doing them?
both.
Both.
Yeah, so we have up to 100 hours that's just sitting in the cloud that folks can move their way through the training plan if they like, or part or some of, and maybe other topics they prefer to be on an interactive webinar, which I offer several times a week so that it can be, conversations with a handful of people rather than one of 40
Mm-hmm.
people thumbnail. I don't offer that at all, or in person. So
Do you do? I assume you also do CEUs as well. So people,
yeah, yeah,
yep.
yeah, yeah. So you have 30 hours that you need to do every 3 years for Yoga Alliance. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important too to help the teacher like stay on their A game and something fresh and new, maybe develop a different style of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they started off wanting to teach vinyasa flow, more athletic, and now they've moved into something more restorative, like a yin or something. So those CECs are a nice chance to pick up a new style that perhaps wasn't in their toolbox before.
Gotcha. So I know there's certifications at different 100 hours. Where are you in your hours of training?
I'm almost at 10,000 by the
What?
end of
Hang
this.
on. Come on.
This is what I do. So by the end of the year, I mean, absent something occurring that I would, if I stay on track with the hours I do this, I'll be at
Uh,
10,000 at the end of this year, which is just like,
yeah.
unbelievable. But this is what I'd rather do, like, so maybe once in a while you'll catch me watching a show, a TV show or something like that. But really, I like the engagement of the people in this community, learning from other people. I do quite a bit with Leslie Kaminoff online, and he teaches yoga anatomy. And I'm enchanted by understanding how the body works, how the mind works, how the mindset works, and the interplay between those ideas.
Yeah.
So I think I could spend the rest of my life remaining
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
Yep.
passing on and sharing with it. And my students. Oh my gosh, I learned so much from my students too. They
Hmm.
show up with knowledge and ideas and thoughts and perspectives, and we all teach each other.
Yep. And always to master something, always stay a beginner.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my Michelle, I've been studying consciousness for 35 years.
Yeah.
Done classes all over the world, gone on
Right.
sabbaticals. I've done all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
put our system together over the last 16 years and
Uh-huh.
launched Encompass Life about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I told her, if you ever hear me say I understand it or I got it, I said, you come kick me in the jewels.
Right.
So when I
Sleep.
said that, I envisioned the pain of that occurring.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
In the
put,
mind.
yeah, I
Yeah.
police myself. If I say, I got, oh, no, 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 I can feel my jewels beginning to migrate up to my cheeks. So,
Yeah.
so I correct myself real quickly and
Perfect.
keep that humbleness. And I have people who come in here and do an introduction. Oh, I got it. I totally understand it.
Yeah.
I said, I've been doing conscious work for 35 years.
Uh-huh.
I'm still beginning. So,
Yeah.
wow. If you got it out after 20 seconds of working with me and you totally understand it, I'm gonna come take your classes. But I guarantee you
Yeah.
that you're just becoming aware of what we're doing here, maybe a
Right.
little bit.
Right. And
Oh,
in the end, there's only 8 limbs of yoga. So this is a practice of mastery, of revisiting the well again and again and again,
mhm.
learning of, hearing about, doing teaching, experiencing in different formats. And I think that when people understand that, they often are very excited that they'll be working on this for the rest of their lives.
Yeah,
And it's quite lovely.
yeah. And every time I've done some yoga too, and I noticed every time I would reclaim a new, like move from an atrophy state to that new movement state, there'd be this flash of heat go through the body,
Right, the energy.
Yeah, that energy, and how beautiful that is, and what's happening in the neurons in the brains that begins to occur in the body,
Mhm.
and beginning to reclaim something in consciousness while, and that body mind connection is so important to
Right.
really excel and that's how
Mhm.
to say this.
Embodiment.
Yeah, and expand.
Yeah.
So many people go through life in like a little narrow lane of this is what's acceptable to express and this isn't and all that
Right.
stuff. And when that person begins to produce those new movements, all of a sudden
Yeah.
that broadens their experience of life instead of going through this little minutia way of life, or broadens their experience with love as well.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah,
It's,
it's beautiful.
I love
Yeah,
it.
me too. So for people to reach out to connect with you, Michelle,
Yeah.
what's the best way?
edgeyogaschool.com. Send me a chat and you'll actually get me. So yeah, you'll get a bot that says, welcome, thanks for stopping by, but then you get me. And usually we begin kind of a conversation of what brings you, how can I serve you, what direction might you want your path to go, and how can I walk alongside you in doing it?
Hmm.
And then from there, I've had students stick around for a decade that are still here now, and it's a
Hmm.
beautiful thing. So
Yeah, yeah, have that discovery. Are we a fit? Because not ever.
Mhm.
each person has their own way they like to work together with somebody. So, are
Yeah.
we really, are we really a fit? Let's interview each other.
Well, and that's so incredibly important because every now and then I might have somebody who really likes to look at life in a checklist point of view, color-coded spreadsheets, things like this. And this student might have a little bit harder of a time because this is a personalized mentorship. It's an experience that we're
Right.
going move through over 200 or 500 hours or more if there's specialty programs involved or something like that. So it's more than a checklist.
Hmm.
And so I'll sometimes make the analogy, if you ever took chemistry, if you walked in and asked the teacher, hey, what are we going to learn? I mean, it would be an
Hmm.
impossible question to really truly honestly answer. I say, well, there's a training plan, there's a syllabus, but what there isn't at Ed Yoga School is a rubric.
Right.
So this is because I work with each student individually based on where they are, what they want to do, and where they want to offer this that they're learning. And
Hmm.
that's going to be personalized and individual. And because of that, then the cost to that is not having a tidy checklist. But from my point of view, life doesn't come with a tidy checklist.
It's an experience,
Yeah, very much.
and you get to reflect on the experience to see what you really get out of it. Like
Right.
you remember movie Forrest Gump.
Oh, of course.
I may not be a smart man, Jenny, but I know what love is. And I'd go, Forrest, you imbecile.
Yeah.
You can't know what love is. You can when you experience love, you experience
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
and in the experience, there becomes an understanding and an embodiment process that brings wisdom. But you don't
Yeah.
know what love is, you imbecile, Forrest. You missed the point.
Wisdom is it. Well, when I opened my school, I got a tattoo symbol on my shoulder that said student.
Mm,
Because when you get as far as becoming a teacher trainer or mentoring people, maybe that have had a practice for 20, 30 years, it's very easy to fall into ego and like, oh, I know this is the right way,
mm,
and to remind myself always to be of a student's mind.
mm,
Yeah, so that's what I aspire to do. So, and honestly, our big call to action edge is to have people submit a journal reflection for each assignment or each experience they had,
mm,
whether it be in the conference room, on a studio floor, in a venue, but what their takeaway was.
mm.
And the favorite part of my day over my coffee toast and my dogs, I'll read these reflections from my students, and I learn so
So
much
much. Yep.
from them. If you can even imagine, like 5, 8, 10 students submitting reflections. They're all so incredibly different based
Yep.
on what they experienced that day.
Yep. Yep. And that's a really important point too. A lot of stuff we do here is based in scripture. It's not religion, but
Sure.
different like spiritual teachings and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And it says once you name something, you have power over that thing. So, like a lot of I've worked with people who have come in here with the fear of abandonment. I'm sure you've heard that stuff before.
Oh, yeah.
I find out that's the biggest BS around.
Yeah.
And a person doesn't have a fear. Most people who come inside with fear of abandonment, they've been living alone for 20 years.
Yeah.
They were already living an abandoned life. So,
They're already there. It's self-imposed.
yep, self-imposed.
So,
And every one of them, what their real fear is, it's not abandonment. What their real fear is love. Every one of them.
yeah.
And once they name that love is their fear, then all
Yeah.
of a sudden that whole pattern shifts that they've been working on for 20 years and immediately shifts, which is
Yeah.
cool. But you also, so you knew how to name you got to name what the sabotaging pattern is, but you also have to name what the return is. And once you can name that return, the body will go into agreement with it, and
Yeah.
the person will begin to live that new return.
It's beautiful.
So,
We have
and
this in yoga. We have this in yoga, and
yeah,
it's
exactly. That's
an
why.
attachment.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
hair, you just reclaim this new movement in your body, right? Now, how are you going to apply that in your life, and what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Because if you retreat back into that, I don't want to, and I'm fearful to do this or whatever, the body will reatify itself.
Yeah, it's so true. It's funny that you should mention that because back in like 2018, 2019, right? I remember I was sharing this idea and I had a studio at that time, like a conventional regular yoga studio that you would think of yoga studio. And I remember telling them that, if you think about it, do we need this studio to learn how to be yoga teachers? Do we need this studio to be a yoga teacher? Is this something that we've deemed who we are rather than something that we do? And what's
Mm-hmm.
the difference? And could we not cross the street and do the same exact thing that we're doing right now under the tree
Mm-hmm.
and learn these things and teach these things and share these things and experiencing? So little did I know, not 6 months later, that's exactly what we would be doing,
Yeah.
But it's this non-attachment idea
Yeah.
that's so powerful that I think no matter what life might throw at a person, right? I guess accepting it with grace,
Yeah.
and because here we are, you know.
Yep. One of the things we do here is your greatest weakness should be your greatest strength.
Yes.
So, my childhood, I had a speech impediment as a kid.
Yes, you do.
If I said a word incorrectly, I would get hit or yelled at, and
Okay.
so my speech impediment turned into a stuttering issue. So,
Sure,
for me
yeah.
to speak in front of a group of people, I
Yeah.
would literally sweat through a shirt to speak for 3 minutes.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
with this system, I went from a stutterer to clear speech in under 10 minutes,
That's amazing.
and for being able to speak in front of a group of people.
Yeah, excellent.
And that's what I do. Somebody would tell me 20 years ago, I couldn't even say the word love. I couldn't say the word God 20 years ago.
Yeah.
If somebody would tell me 20 years ago, hey, Mark, you're going to be a public speaker. You're going to be sharing about the power of love and power and the beauty of God, or another way of saying it, the beauty of life. I would have given this finger and that one too, just for good measure.
Make sure they got it. Yeah.
Just make sure you got it right. And I tell you what, that's where I came alive, was doing
Mm.
those things that I didn't think was possible, or that was
Yeah,
totally
beautiful.
opposite of the conversation I had in my head. But like
Yeah.
with you, like when somebody gets a certain level of competency with yoga, right?
Yeah.
They got to share it. I mean,
Right.
they
Yeah,
just, yeah,
you have
because
to.
hey, here's what happened in my life.
Yeah.
Here's what I experienced, and
Yeah.
I got to bring this out.
Yeah.
So, and the
It's true.
greater the share, the greater the return.
Yeah.
And when people can share what they're getting, that's the fastest way to clear up karma.
Yes. Yes.
Being to be in service.
I
So,
could not agree with you more. And even like speaking on God, many people feel like, well, I don't know, yoga, does that meet up with my religion or not? We don't have a specific religious component in our program, but we do have different like mini programs that can come inside the experience, and one of which is yoga with Jesus. And this is because a number of people come to yoga, they want to teach yoga, but
mm-hmm,
they're conflicted whether or not that does or does not align with their faith. But now
mm-hmm,
here's an opportunity to take these ideas that are very, very similar to worldwide,
mm-hmm.
timeless ideas that
Yeah,
can serve people, and then offer yoga in their local church if
yeah,
that's what they
yeah.
want to.
It's a way of the health. It's a way of being able to be flexible in your body. It's a way of gaining strength. If that goes against your religion, maybe find something that actually promotes life.
Yeah, yeah. And the impact of a centering breath.
Yeah,
You know, sometimes people think yoga, they think downward facing dog, headstand, bendy gymnastics. I mean, it can be,
right,
but I don't really do much of that, and it's not really my specialty to teach. I have my trainers teach that. Some people want that. But it seems like more and more nowadays people crave mindfulness, crave mobility, strength, empowerment,
right.
in community.
Yep, inner peace.
Yeah, for
Yep.
sure.
Well, I do have a question I'd like to end the show on. We've been
Okay.
to wrap this up.
Yeah.
And my parting question is, what do you love about life
What do I love about life?
besides your great smile?
Yeah, well,
You're
I have
welcome.
my mother to thank for that. Play. I think we take the whole thing just way too seriously. Find some play. Throw, shred, get rid of the checklist,
Right.
And find some play in each and every day. Because, you just don't know how much time you might have. So
Yeah.
each day, some play.
I remember I was going through a really tough time in my life a number of years ago. And I
Yeah.
said, I'm going to start having fun for no reason.
Right? I say.
And I know
Yeah.
as I begin to start having fun for no reason, I'm going to have a lot of reasons to have fun for.
Yes.
And if and so when I started doing that, my Michelle, she goes like, Mark,
Yeah.
I go, what? She goes, you're acting like you're 6. And I went, thank you.
Yes.
And she goes, but you're 60. I said, thank you.
This is the goal.
This is the goal. I
This is
said,
the
so
goal.
this isn't
Even
very
in training.
attractive. I said, well, then this is how I'm going to be. So you can either learn to be with it or be bitchy about it. But if you're going to be bitchy, I'm still going to be laughing and be playful.
That's funny, and I think that that's where it's at. And even in training, I think there's an honesty and
Yep.
that comes through authenticity. And I'll say, this is me at my 6-year-old self.
Yep.
This is
Yeah.
what I want to do.
Yep.
And, and if you don't like it, then you get to find your own 6-year-old self and tap into that
Yeah.
and, and include that in your day now
Yes,
that you're grown
ma'am.
and have a wallet and a set of keys,
Yeah. If you get there's a video out on YouTube. It's called Bill Hicks. It's just a ride.
Okay.
Check it if you can. Check it out. I think you'll get a
Yeah,
kick
yeah.
out of it.
Yeah, very fun. Do send me the link.
Awesome.
What
Well,
a pleasure, Mark.
Michelle,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much for being on the show. It's really a pleasure
Oh,
getting to know you,
oh,
and love your smile, which you already know. And it's
thank
gotten bigger as we've talked, so it's
yes.
that's awesome. So
Yeah.
blessings to you, and wish you the best in your journey
Oh,
and your success in your business.
thank you. Until
You're
next
welcome.
time,
You're
Mark.
welcome.